All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's live stream where I'm going to take a look at the crypto market and the forex market. As always, I'm going to do a complete market scan of both markets and see if we can find anything interesting and perhaps talk about whatever, some trading stuff. Man, let's run the intro. All right, let's go. Trading psychology, that's what it's called. Talk about trading psychology. So I just had a call with one of my students, like first call. We talked about talked to him about managing expectations and what type of expectations he should have coming into the into the mentorship, and the fact that most people, most traders, most successful traders, they have a very simple approach to markets, right? They have a very simple way of trading, and I really do think that all of you watching this, please try to keep it simple. Have an open mind. You should try a lot of you should try a lot of different things, but have an open mind when it comes to testing stuff, but have a goal of creating a simple system, right? Test a lot of things, try everything, but your goal is not to have everything on your chart. Your goal is to keep what makes sense. And I'm talking about indicators, right? If you have 10 different indicators, try to strip that down to one which you think makes most sense and gives you the best type of entry triggers or confirmation or whatever. Because most people out there, most professional traders out there, they have a very simple approach to the system, and they have a very simple setup, and mostly only like one setup that they're looking for, and that is based on years of experience with many different types of indicators, and they found what works for them, right? Very, very, very important. So like in this first call with my first call with my student, right? We I told him that the system I'm going to teach you and going to show you is actually quite simple, right? It's easy to understand, it's quite simple, and it's not that complicated to execute. But it's that it's the trading part of it all that is very, very hard, right? So you should not underestimate the problems that might arise when you actually start trading in terms of the mental aspect of trading. Yes, kiss simple, keep it simple, stupid. That is a very, very important part of trading. Well, like everyone from Australia here, what's up, Australia? Welcome, welcome. I have a lot of students from Australia as well. You guys seem to be very interested in making money. I guess everyone is. Right. So let's start with Bitcoin right here. I have a chart up for Bitcoin right here, and it's a very boring market. And why is it a very boring market? Well, when Bitcoin is a major trend, it's just very, very boring. And honestly, like last couple of months, I'd say from the all the way from the end of last year, the markets have been quite complicated to trade, in my opinion. Both the crypto market and the forex market, I've seen that I'm struggling much more this year than I did last year, and that's because a changing macroeconomic structure with the Fed, halting the quantitative easing in America, and central banks starting to hike rates, right? And then, of course, we have the war in Europe with Ukraine and Russia, which is definitely, changing the macroeconomic structure and geopoliticals of the world. So we have a very different market than we had last year, right? And this is also a very good segue into the conversation of adapting as a trader, right? As a trader, you need to be able to adapt to changing market conditions. And this is a market condition that we haven't seen in a long time. So how do I adapt to this changing market condition? Well, honestly, I've been struggling a lot with this, right? But what I think is very, very important to me is that the market is going to give you much fewer trades. And if the market is going to give you much fewer trades, it means that you have to wait much longer for um, for the next trade, right? By the way, can you guys hear me? Is the quality of the sound and video, everything's good? I kind of changed a couple of settings. So I want to let me know if everything's working and you can hear me well. Anyway, changing market conditions, right? So for me, this changing market condition means that I will be taking much fewer trades, right? So I will have to um, be much more patient. I need to wait for wait for the right setups to come along, which is not an easy thing, right? It's not an easy thing. If you went from having 10, 15 trades a week to having 5 or 10 trades a month, you're going to have some trouble with the discipline and the patience of waiting for that perfect setup, right? So that's one of the major issues that I'm having right now, having to really work on that patience, right? And I wrote with a couple of students earlier this morning, and I said, like, you know what, I think I don't know, man, I'm just having a pretty bad time, I mean, like I'm feel like I'm definitely more stressed. I'm entering trades based on impulsive decisions and he's making bad mistakes, right? And he basically said the same thing, right? And it's basically said the same thing. I'm gonna go through all the questions in a bit, right? And I came to the conclusion, and I also talked with my partner about this, and she said that she's been feeling, she's been noticing that I've been feeling more stressed lately. And I also haven't been working out regularly. I have not been meditating regularly, and I have not had uh, my runs regularly, which is one of my one of my core thing that I need to do to stay balanced and focused, right? So uh, I've seen that because of the fact that in current market conditions, I need more patience, right? I need more patience. I need more. I need to be more calm and patient, right? And what helps me with that is working on not my system or not my TA, but working on first and foremost being more, physically active, right? Working out and also um, practicing more mindfulness with meditation, right? And working on my mental aspect of trading and more um, specifically the expectations of current market conditions, right? So that is what I found is going to be my number one priority going forward. Try to take few trades, be patient, and just wait for the best ones, right? All right, so are you still in your Litecoin short? No, I closed that one. This morning around current prices. So I've closed my Litecoin short around current prices for a minus 0.5 R. And the reason why I closed this was let me show you the idea, right? Let me show you the idea. And this actually, I'm not sure. I think this was such a good idea because basically look at this. Look at the daily, and this is also one of those mistakes that I'm talking about, right? Like this, I didn't even look at the daily much. But if I did look at the daily, I would probably have seen this, right? I would probably have seen this. And for me, it kind of feels like this whole area right here, kind of feels like it's some type of support, right? Yes, this also kind of looks like a break and retest, but overall, overall, I think that retest right there, that was the retest. That was the break and retest, right? Not this one. So it kind of like, this might turn out well. This might just go lower, sure, but it kind of feels like I made a little bit, made a little mistake here of not really caring about the high time frame levels, which actually kind of looks like I shorted uh, support, right? That's the first mistake I believe I did. And then if you look at the actual trade setup, which, like, it kind of makes sense, right? But kind of makes sense, but at the same time not, because you look at the 4 hour, it kind of looks like a break and retest of this level right here. But then on the daily, I'm not so sure. And what really prompted me to exit is, so this kind of confirms the setup, right? This bearish engulfing right here kind of confirms the setup, right? But then you look at the next candle, boom, that's a pretty strong bullish candle. And seeing this, I'm like, oh, god damn it, I'm not going to exit here because the trade is still valid. But then you had the next candle, which is a pretty strong bullish pin bar, right? And that's where I decided I was going to look for an exit, right? Because that's usually what I want to see. Is my best trades is when you have the entry confirmation, it hits entry, and then it immediately starts moving down, right? If it kind of hovers around entry and then starts looking worse, it's just better to exit, better to take that loss and exit the trade. And this is where we're currently trading right now. Yes, it might work out, but then again, you got to remember that we have today. Do we have something today? Well, tomorrow we have a very, very important day. We have a Fed interest rate decision and the Fed press conference at 2000 UTC. No, UTC plus 2 actually, my time. So I would like to be out of the market at that time, and this just does not look like it's happening much. So that's that one. Let's see if we can take a look at. Also had a question about the number of calls in the group. So why are there so few short calls in the group? Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm just not really used to shorting altcoins, right? I'm just not really used to shorting altcoins. Honestly, I'm mostly I found that the way I'm trading, I'm just more used to going long. So that's, from my own experience, I just think the risk to reward of going long in altcoins and Bitcoin is just usually better. But I do agree that the number of shorts could have been better, right? But then again, you look at near, like, as long as price is trading above the daily 20 and daily 50 EMA, there's not going to be a short setup for me, right? So the first kind of like the first sign of me wanting to perhaps short near, that is when price is below the daily 20 and 50 EMA, and that usually happens after a massive, a bigger move to the downside. So most of the time, that first impulse move to the downside, I'm just not possibly, I can't short that because it's it very rarely activates a short setup on the first move to the downside. On BNB, we have been trading below the moving averages here for quite some time. We did possibly have some short setups on BNB. And right now I'm seeing a short setup on BNB, right? So it's short setup on BNB if you believe that the crypto market is starting, going to continue move lower. I do think that this current area right here is a decent level to short BNB, right? But I'm just not really interested in shorting now because of the news events tomorrow. But BNB actually kind of looks like it wants to move lower, right? But I'm just not really sold on this price action right here. Ethereum also had a short setup activating yesterday with that 4-hour bearish engulfing, and the entry would have been on the weekly open, and then stop loss is above the reload zone, and this would have been the setup. And yeah, it might work out. It might work out. That Litecoin trade might work out as well, but it's just that I'd rather not take that risk. All right, so let's see if we can get a yeah, my swing strategy actually works quite well on the lower time frames as well. The reason why I'm not trading this on the lower time frames is because I I've structured my work and life balance in a way that I try not to work too much. Basically, I try to work effectively instead of working, instead of working many hours. I try to work few hours, but during those few hours, I try to be as effective as possible. So I try to work no more than 4 hours a day, right? And of course, during the daytime, so usually what I do is I work between 8 and 12, or 8 and 1, and then I have the whole day off. But during that time, I also have, I'm also available if I have an alert for a setup that's forming and stuff like that. But because of the fact that I'm not at my desk at all time, I don't trade the lower time frames. But it's something I showed with a student of mine. This looks good. I like this. This looks very good. That candle right there, that was a beautiful. Right. Let me just. Oh man, look at that. So I did have plans on entering in the reload zone right here. Look at the weekly open and monthly open in perfect confluence with the 618 right here in that trend line. Man, that is absolutely beautiful. I think I missed a beautiful entry right here. So the next entry on this one would be on the reclaim of the 20 EMA on the daily. I'm going to move that on the top of the list. So I looked at an example of how you can use my system to find good entries on the lower time frames. So here's actually an example of a trade I took, right? So here's the entry trigger, right? It's the 4-hour bearish engulfing candle right here and the weekly open right here. So what we do here is we add the fibs from that high to that low. And what we see now is that 4-hour bearish engulfing happened right on the 50% fib right here, and also a pretty good trendline area right here. So we now know that the setup is confirmed on the 4-hour, but the risk reward of entering right here, because of the fact that it only hit the 50 and not the reload zone, the risk to reward of entering right here on this candle close is just not really that great. But if you go to the 1 hour, you might be able to find a better entry on the 1 hour, right? So what we're doing now is we're moving into the lower time frames, right? And we're going to use a technique where we try to find fib confluence of the bigger move and the lower move. I mean, honestly, look at this. This is absolutely amazing. I mean, I almost gets blown away of the accuracy of this. And I'm not saying this to kind of brag or whatever, but honestly, this works out so well, right? So you have the highs right here, right? You have the highs here and the lows. This is the low time frame move, right? What we're seeing right now is that low time frame reload zone and the weekly open around the 50 and the trend line. So this area right here, this is where we want to try to get an entry, right? This is where we're going to try to get an entry. Remember, the fibs are going to be based on the swing trade, right? So the fibs, the TPs are going to be based on the fibs of the swing trade. So the TP1, the last TP is going to be down here, right? What we want to do now is want to see, let's say you're trading this line, right? So you have an alert set right here, right? So that alert goes off and it tells you that price is now in an area of interest for an entry. But you need confirmation. You want to see a 1 hour bearish engulfing with a 1 hour stochastics RSI bear cross inside the reload zone, preferably hitting that trend line and everything, and then closing below the moving averages and the 50 and the weekly open and everything, right? So that's a big candle, right? And you're looking at this and you're like, maybe maybe entering here, maybe this is going to break out, not a bad idea, not a good idea to trade. But then boom, you have that bearish engulfing candle. Like I said, bearish engulfing candle inside the reload zone, right on that trend line, closest below everything. Beautiful, perfect, right? And now what you can do is you can enter on that candle close. Now we can have a very tight stop loss, and the trade then looks like this. And on the 4 hour, it looks like this, right? So you have a pretty tight entry. You have an entry on the same area where you wanted to enter on the 4 hour, but on the 4 hour, you would have to have the stop loss up here, right? Because it's then going to be on above the 4 hour swing high. But because you went into the 1 hour and you confirmed an entry on the 1 hour, you can have a very tight stop loss. And now let's see what happens. Hits that minus 618 almost perfectly, right? Almost perfectly. So that's how you can use this this system on the lower time frames to find a scalp entry on a swing trade, right? And it works out surprisingly well. The average R of this trade would be around 3. The average R of the trade before, I mean, it would not even be worth taking, right? Now, if you're... There's also one way you can do this, right? No, in the low time frame scenario, I do not put my stops based on the 4 hour high. In this low time frame scenario, I put my stop right above the highs, because now it's confirmed on the 4 hour, it's confirmed on the 1 hour. It should not move higher, right? So I can have my stop above here, because if it does test that trend line and break out again, I mean, the chances are quite high that it's going to continue higher for a possible break in market structure, right? Now, what you can do also, and I do not recommend doing this without really back testing this, because I have not back tested this extensively. On my fibs, my fib looks like this, right? So you can just pause the video, watch the recording, replay, whatever, and just copy these settings. And I'll also, you can follow me on Twitter as well. I'm at LiBZ42, just like you can see down here. And I will perhaps post a screenshot of my fib settings as well. But this is really how you can get insanely good trades with this strategy, right? So we already know that this trend line and that low time frame reload zone is the best possible area of entry, right? So what if we do this, right? What if we, instead of wait for confirmation, excuse me, what if we, instead of wait for confirmation, we just put in orders directly, right? We just put in orders right here. Now, like I said, I have not backtested this enough to, I have not backtested this enough to know how well it actually works. But if you know that that's the best possible entry, you could put in blind orders, and then the average risk to reward of this trade would be 4.3. When you have average R of around 4 or above 4, you can have very low win rate, right? So the higher risk to reward you have on a setup, the lower win rate you need overall, which then also, it kind of makes sense to then use blind orders for very risky trades like this one, right? Because what happens here is price comes up, it tests that area perfectly, and then just completely dumps right down to TP, right? So that's 0.702, the midpoint of that reload zone, is usually the best area for an entry. We can just look at this trend on the lower time frames, and I'm pretty sure we're going to find, let's look at the 4 hour here. So we can look at this trend right here, and I'm pretty sure we can find a lot of examples where most of the bounces has happened inside the reload zone. So let's start from here, right? So let's start from here. Let's look at every low to high, every move, and see where it bounces. Some will bounce on the 50, some will go lower than the reload zone, but I do suspect that the biggest moves happens when you test the midpoint of the reload zone. And that is the reason why I had the reload zone as a big part of my system, because it just works out insanely well when it works out, right? So this one right here is going to hit the 50, right? Hits the 50, almost the 618, not quite inside the reload zone, but it would still hit TP2 and be a pretty good trade. We look at this one, went lower than the reload zone. But this one is interesting, right? Look at this. Well, it did go lower than a reload zone, but overall price action, you have no candle closes below the reload zone, just wicks below it. It really does look like it's a good area of support, and that's where you have the big moves, right? And what happened with this move? Well, it went straight up to the minus RLC, or the RLC extension, whatever you want to call it, right? Up here. It's beautiful, right? That's where you have the bigger move. And you can look at the higher time frames as well. And then if you look at this move, right? You look at this move. Where does that bounce happen? It happens inside this on a 0.618. So not quite inside the reload zone. I guess if you use that low, it will look better. Midpoint of the reload zone. And the reload zone is the area between the 0.618 and the 0.786, right? So it's these right here. This is the reload zone, and that's the midpoint of the reload zone. So I don't have a course. But I do have I do offer private mentoring. However, all private mentoring spots are now full. But I do have something. I'm working on something. I can't really tell you any details about it. But I'm actually working on something quite excited that I'm really happy. I'm really excited about, because I've been doing this private mentoring stuff for about 2 years, and I've had a lot of students be really successful. Right? I have a couple of students who are now trading profitably and is now starting to trade for a living, which is just absolutely fantastic, and trading my system. So I believe that I really do believe that the program and the way I've set up the mentorship is working quite well, right? So I want to take that and then create something where I'm able to help more people, right? And it's going to be not a course. It's more going to be like a private mentoring experience, but for a closed community, right? So a select few, maybe 5 or 10 people, where I teach them how to trade. Instead of just having one at a time, I want to have more like a group of people where I teach them, and we're going to trade the same system, and hopefully create a community with a tight-knit community where there's very few people, 5 or 10 people committed to trading one system and being profitable trading that system. So that's something for the future. Like I said, can be very limited spots. So make sure to follow me on Twitter. And if you're interested in something like that I just described, send me a DM. And explain to me why you think you might be a good fit for something like that, and might consider you for that type of mentorship. All right. So and it's not for beginners, right? It's not for 100% beginners. It's about people. It's for people that are actually trading. You don't have to be profitable. You absolutely do not have to be a profitable professional trader. But this idea is for people that have the funds to trade, right? Have the funds to trade, and has decided that they're going to be profitable traders, professional traders, right? If you have already decided that this is what you want to do in life, and you're committed and you're extremely serious about doing this and making it as a trader, this is for you, right? If you're not really sure if you want to be a trader, you're not really sure if you like this, please do not consider joining that program, because it's only for people that I know that I can really work with, right? And I want to make sure that everyone who joins have a good experience and is given the right tools to really trade profitably. All right, so yeah, okay. If Litecoin breaks down here, I've already exited Litecoin here, but if Litecoin breaks down, I might want to enter this one again, right? So if Litecoin kind of breaks down like this, I might want to enter this one again. Let's do a quick scan of the first the altcoin market, just to get an idea of what's going on right here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a quick scan of the market to see if I'm bullish or bearish, right? Near bearish. This looks bearish. So right at this very moment, Rune is actually hitting a very interesting support level here, right in the middle of the reload zone. So if you're bullish on Rune long term, this is probably a very good area to start buying some long term bags or start doing some dollar cost averaging or whatever. I'm not going to be trading this because I want to wait for a shift in trend here, and it's going to take a couple of days for that to happen. I do think that it makes no sense to enter any trades today because of the major news event that we have tonight with the Fed interest rate decision. So yes, I think it's just best not to trade today, at least not crypto. I'm going to be looking at the Forex market and start looking at pairs which might not get that heavily affected by the major news event in America, but gotta be careful with crypto because obviously that news event might affect Bitcoin. It's going to affect everything, but it might affect Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin will affect all coins, obviously. So gotta be careful. Yeah, not much interesting in crypto, honestly, at this point. I like when Bitcoin is in this massive range right here, it's just a very it's a hard environment to trade for most people. Let's go through the some of the Forex pairs right here. I do feel like I did miss an absolutely beautiful entry here on AUD JPY, but then when you look at the news events, you'll see that this morning you had interest rate decision. So for AUD, central bank interest rate decision for AUD at 6:30 in the morning. So we'll look at the charts here, and we'll see 6:30 this morning. Wait a minute. Well, you know what? That's actually all right. So that's actually not what I expected, but this would have been the setup, right? I believe that candle right here, I should probably have entered on either that candle or when you have this 4-hour bullish and go like that candle right here. Now, the tricky part about this setup is the fact that it's below the daily 20 EMA right here, right? So you're actually trading inside the daily, you're trading against the daily 20 and the 4-hour moving averages as resistance. But then when you look at the overall trend here, it's just so bullish. So I believe that I would probably put in blind orders, but that's the daily close as well. So I would have then had to wait for the daily close, which I'm not awake at that time. So all right, so whatever, this I wouldn't have been able to take this trade because it's just I wish I would, but I'm just not able to take this trade. So what will be the next idea, right? Of course, if I put in blind orders here on the 618 like this, yes, I would have gotten a pretty good entry, and yeah, the average R on this trade would be quite well. I also like the fact that the last TP is actually the last highs right here, so this makes perfect sense, right? Makes perfect sense. My next trade for ADJPY would be let me just I have a student that took an entry on ADJPY here with a stop down here, and he got stopped out obviously here, and I said, you know what, you probably should have waited for this level to get hit before entering, and I'm gonna send him this chart as a good example of why waiting for the best level to get hit is most of the time the best thing to do is wait for the best level to get hit. So FOMO, well, you will feel the FOMO here, right? But that's just not the right way to what area to enter. So the next trade, what would be the next trade? So first of all, let's use that low, and we're gonna try to anticipate. We're gonna try to anticipate. Well, we're not gonna try to anticipate anything here. We're just gonna add a couple of lines here. So I'm thinking something like this. Something like this. I want to enter. I want to enter somewhere around this area. Probably something like this. Up to that high. So now let's try to anticipate like what. So the 50% fib is going to be here probably. Get that move. So the 50% and the 618 right here. This is going to be the trade. Enter on the 50. 1-to-1 up here with stops right below the weekly open. I think this makes sense. Somewhere here. The average R, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. That entry is much better. I don't know, man. It sounds like I'm trying to force it here. I'm just gonna add some alerts and just let price action do whatever it wants, and I'll just follow whatever happens. All right, next one, CAD CHF. What is happening? Oh, look at this. Perfect. This is the one. You see how I marked this out yesterday, and now it's looking perfect, looking absolutely perfect. So what I will do here is I will enter orders because I want to take this trade because the average R of this trade is 4. Wow, that's a good trade. Everything lines up quite nicely with the 4-hour kind of confirming. So the 1 hour, can we perhaps use the 1 hour here to get a very good entry? Can we? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I believe that is, you look at that one right there. You have the 618 right in the middle of that area, complement with the weekly and monthly open. So the 618, obviously, that is going to be my my area of interest for an entry. I do believe that that's the level that will get hit. I like this. Now, there's I have two opportunities, two things. Man, this is what happens when you have like you go on a run for an hour and then you have a meeting with a student and then you're gonna do a live stream. It's like your brain gets fried, and all I see is like candles everywhere. It's actually a quite nice problem to have. Look how nicely that trend line aligns with everything. I think this might be like the perfect scenario. Everything just aligns almost perfectly. I think I need to place some orders here. And the average risk to reward is around 4. I'm starting to get really tired. I need to drink some water. Maybe I shouldn't take a decision now. Let's look at the news event. What's happening today? All right. Do we have anything today that might affect the Canadian dollar or the Swiss franc? This might definitely have an effect on CHF with the European Central Bank of Europe, European Central Bank, obviously speaking, saying like, "Oh, everything looks like shit. We're gonna save everyone." Hopefully, tomorrow. Wait, what pair was that? Canadian dollar. Do we have anything? Well, obviously, Canadian dollar is going to get affected by the interest rate decision tomorrow. I think I said interest rate decision today. Obviously not happening. That's tomorrow. Balance of trade for Canada tomorrow. So tomorrow. Interesting. Lots going on tomorrow. Today, not much. Not much. I think I will take this trade. I want to take that trade. Should I take that trade? Yes, probably. I'm going to put in an alert right here. And I think I will try to get a tight entry on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an alert right here. And it has to be one of those alerts that kind of makes me notice it. So let's do like run. You know, so I see this on my watch. It's like, oh shit, I gotta run down to my office. Right, that's the alert. I don't know what else. That actually looks like a possible. So I want to go long on Canadian dollar, and I'm going to go short on euro versus Canadian dollar. That makes sense. I like this. This kind of makes sense as a trade. So I'm moving that up. CAD CHF up. AUD JPY. Somewhat even interesting. Bitcoin bias to the downside. Ethereum to the downside as well. USD JPY. I took a trade on this yesterday, but I exited quite quickly for a small profit. This one is not very interesting today. Let's see if we can find anything more here to add to the first list. Well, look at this. I'm not going to take this trade, but you probably notice what area this is in right now. It's in the reload zone, right? And it's hitting that. It's actually hitting that midpoint of the reload zone absolutely perfectly. This is where you get the high risk to reward trades, and you also have a 4-hour bullish engulfing candle closing in perhaps 3 hours. Now let's assume that 4-hour candle is closing above the weekly open. Let's ignore the moving averages, right? For some reason, let's just remove the moving averages, and let's look at this and say, you know what if the 4-hour candle closes above the weekly open and the monthly open? You can then have stop loss right below here. The risk, that is a short. I'm going to long this. So the risk to reward. Why am I using the short tool? Should be the long. Right, here it is. So the risk to reward on this trade would be 5.8 if it plays out, and even to these highs, it's going to be 3.4. So I probably, if I'll take this trade, I'll probably take it up to the last local high for a 3.4, 3.5 odd trade. But really, if you want to let it run, that's going to be your trade. It looks interesting, but at the same time, when you add the moving averages, it's just not gonna This doesn't look that great anymore. So I put on some alerts here. Now the interesting thing with trading is the setup example that I showed you here without the moving averages. If you only take that trade, you only take that setup, you only take that trade, and you have a very consistent approach to the markets with only taking that, you're probably going to be profitable. I'm just saying, like, going long inside the long reload zone is insanely accurate when done right. I actually want to backtest it more, and I want to, I don't feel a huge need to improve my system, but that part of the system, I believe that if I do nail that part of the system, I think I'm going to be so much more profitable. Right, so let's look at gold and silver. Silver did activate a short setup right here. It never filled an entry. Gold also activated a short setup up here, but never gave me a opportunity to enter. Nothing here. US 30 looks rather. I think if we close below the monthly open, we're definitely going to go lower. USD CAD looking somewhat strong here. USHF, I don't know. I don't really like. Obviously, I'm not going to be going long on Euro pairs today. AUD and CT. There's a lot of movements today. There's a lot of movements. I don't really know what to think here. All I know is I'm gonna try my very best only to look for the obvious shorts. Is this obvious? Is this hitting the 50? All right, so this is interesting, right? Because it hit the 50 right here, confirmed a short setup, and then you go into 1 hour and you add another fib from that high to that low, and you'll see that you now have also a confirmed setup on the 1 hour with that 1 hour bearish engulfing candle on the reload zone of this as well. So now I'm kind of thinking that, you know what, this might be a decent entry right here with stops above here. But all the interesting setups are based on the Canadian dollar, right? So I have a short versus two shorts versus Canadian dollar and one long. But the risk reward on this particular trade right here actually looks very, very good. Very, very good. So I'm actually moving that up to the first list. GBP, JPY, nothing here. My watch has told me I should take a walk. So probably should take a walk. S&P 500. Looks like it wants to go lower, but there's no setup on this one right here. Right, US 100 also looks like it wants to move lower, but man. I don't know if this makes sense. You know that 4-hour candle just closed, and if I would take this short, yeah, I did just come back from a run, and now it's telling me I should go out on a walk. If I'm listening to that watch, I'm not going to be able to trade much. Now my son is screaming like he's dying. I don't know what's going on up there. Right, use 100. There's something not feeling right about this one. But I'm gonna add it anyway. UK 100, no short. We got oil, nothing going on here, just ranging. Euro USD, nothing. CAD JPY. Right, it was CAD JPY that we looked for that move. Interesting. 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 Can I add some alerts here? So you see, the way I'm adding alerts, right? By the way, guys, if you like what I'm doing, if you like these types of market scanning and live trading, just hit that like button. And if you want more stuff like this, just subscribe. And if you want more actionable setups, you can follow me on Twitter, where I do post a lot of stuff as well. Maybe not today because it's just a very busy day. Chimpanzee. NCDCHF. Look at that one. Not perfect. Natural gas. Guys, look at this. I'm so pissed that I did not buy nat gas when it was inside the reload zone. So this is the weekly, right? Yeah. I mean, I can present this with no comment, right? See how perfectly it came down and hit the midpoint of the reload zone, and it's now making its way up. Like this would have been the trade. Like, check this out, right? This would have been the trade, all right? So price comes down inside the reload zone right here, and stochastics RSI on the daily starts turning bullish right here. I mean, just blindly entering around this area with stops somewhere here. The average R of this trade, if it hits the minus 618, would be 11, right? 11 in, sure, it's been 125 days, but seriously, like having a trade that's above 10R, I highly recommend you check out add the reload zone on the higher time frames on altcoins. You're going to see that most of the major bottoms on altcoins prior to several 100% moves, it's happening inside the reload zone. All right, that's it, guys. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not really. Bitcoin. Am I interested in Bitcoin? No. Ethereum? No. Let's go back to Litecoin, see if we can see if it's going to make me depressed or not. Yeah, this is definitely making me a little bit depressed here because it does look like I might have exited at a loss prior to it dumping. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setups, and I'm gonna rank them by probability. US 100. There's something about this I don't like, so let's move that to the bottom. GBP CAD, I do like. Euro CAD, I kind of like. CAD CHF, I really like. AD JPY is not going to be able to trade this today anyway, so we are left with 4 pairs, with the GBP CAD currently looking very good. Euro CAD also looking quite interesting, but I do believe that right now we have GBP CAD, CAD CHF, and US 100 looking the best. I think there's I've got lunch soon, so usually what happens is my son kind of bursts into the office and starts screaming like a maniac. So let's see if that happens today as well. But what I like here about US 100 is the fact that We hit the 50% fib and the 20 EMA in the 4 hour, while stochastics being right above 70 right here. So I kind of like that, but I'm not sure if now is the right time to enter. Let's see. Oh, man. So I like doing these live sessions because like the feelings I'm feeling now is, I've been out on a run for about an hour. I came back, had a quick shower, and then had a 1 hour meeting with a student, and now I'm at 1 hour into this live stream. So I'm kind of losing focus, right? I'm getting a little bit more tired. I'm losing focus. I haven't really drank any water. So I'm now getting feelings where, like, I'm not sure what to do. I'm a little bit confused over what I'm seeing or what I'm supposed to do. So right now is not a good time to make a trading decision, right? Because when I'm tired, um, I have a much harder time focusing, right? So when I'm tired, I have a much harder time focusing, and the idea that you are supposed to be like being a disciplined person is not something you just are, right? It's not like you have like discipline is like a type of energy, right? And that energy can get depleted throughout the day. So your level of discipline will be, at least in my case, much higher in the beginning hours of the day, and then get lower and lower and lower until it's depleted at the end of the day, where I'm just not disciplined at all. And that's why I don't trade after certain hours, right? And it's more about habits, right? A disciplined person is disciplined in creating habits, and when those habits stick, you don't really need to be disciplined around that time, right? Um, so I do my live streams around 10, so around 1 hour earlier than I did today, and I do think I have great energy when doing them regularly. It's just today's been a lot to do. But what I'm saying is, like, if you find yourself being not a very disciplined person, you should put that little discipline that you have and that energy you have and put that into creating good habits, right? And be very disciplined with creating those habits. And when you have proper good habits that stick, that comes automatically, you don't have to be super disciplined, right? You only have to follow the automatic urge of following the discipline if you've done it correctly. There's a book I would like you guys to read if you're interested in creating positive habits. I do believe that this book right here, every trader should read this book. So it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Go to jamesclear.com. I find the audiobook on Audible to be absolutely fantastic. And for that trading program that I've talked about in the past, there's going to be two required required readings, and it's going to be this book right here, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and also Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. If you want to join, if you want to join that program, or perhaps be one of my students in the future, I would highly recommend you read Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas and Atomic Habits by James Clear. When people ask me about books on technical analysis, these are the two books I give them, and they have nothing to do with technical analysis. However, they have everything to do about trading. This is not a trading book, but this is applicable to all parts of life. This, however, is a legendary trading book. This is a gem of a trading book. This is the trading book. This is the only book about trading that you will ever need. Read this book and you will thank me later. Right. So right now I'm feeling I'm definitely feeling FOMO on GBP CAD. I should have entered on that 1 hour candle close right there. I should really have entered on that 1 hour candle close because that really did confirm this setup. I am going to enter this on a with a tighter stop loss, probably something like this. Let's look at 15-minute. Yeah, probably gonna enter this like this as a fairly risky trade, right? And I'm also gonna enter CAD CHF most likely. So it's going to be a long on CAD CHF and a short on GBP CAD. Euro CAD I'm not going to enter. US 100 probably not going to enter this one. But CAD CHF and GBP CAD is two positions that I really like at this point. And looking at this one right here, it's a very high risk to reward trade. It's a very high risk to reward trade. And it's exactly the same setup that I had on the NCD CAD trade that I showed you guys in the beginning of the stream. But then, like I said, I'm definitely feeling a little bit of FOMO here. I really want to enter this position, but something tells me that I shouldn't, because of the fact that I'm feeling FOMO. And a very important thing here is what separates regular trader and the best traders is the best traders, they think differently, right? They have a different mental approach to the markets. They approach the markets in a consistent way from a psychology aspect. It's the consistency that we all seek is not in the markets, it's in our mind, right? It's all about having a consistent mind and a consistent approach from the psychological aspect. So it's not about what we do and when we do it, it's about how we think when we do it and what we think about when we do it. And so then let's try to look at this situation right here. I'm in this right now, right? So what I'm doing is I'm looking for a setup, and the setup kind of confirms everything looks kind of good. But what am I feeling when I'm doing this? What's my feeling when I'm looking at this? My feeling is FOMO, right? I'm not feeling disciplined. I'm feeling that feeling in my stomach, which is like, oh, you know what? Like, just enter it. Look at the risk reward. It's just so good. Just imagine if this is done straight down after entering, right? So that's what I'm thinking, and that's my feeling, right? So that's what I'm thinking when I'm doing it, right? And on the other side, I'm not really thinking about what happens if price goes up, right? I'm not really thinking about, wait a minute, what happens if price never goes lower after you enter? What if price just continues to go up and takes out your stop loss? How does that make me feel, right? I never really thought about that when deciding, like a couple of minutes ago, I said, I'm going to enter this one, right? I never really thought about that. So that's a flawed approach, mentally flawed approach, right? So what I have to do now is be patient and not enter this trade. Because also this trade right here is not in perfect confluence with the system, right? It's not in perfect confluence with the system. So what I will do here, and it's very it's a very good thing to kind of have these live streams and talk myself out of making bad decisions, because if I would not have done this live stream today, I would already have been in this position. I would have entered on that 1 hour candle close right here. But going through my thought process here kind of also made me realize that what I'm doing is I'm slowly talking myself out of doing an impulsive decision, and it's such a cool experience. Because what you need to do is you need to feel whatever you're feeling, right? And you have to embrace your emotions, right? So what I felt like 10 minutes ago when I said I'm gonna enter this, right? What I felt was I had that feeling in my stomach where it's a mix of stress, anxiety, and positive expectations, right? Um, and the anxiety part is definitely the strongest part, and the stress part. And now the feeling I'm having is complete balance, right? I'm just not feeling any negative or positive emotions. I'm just completely in sync with price action, just completely in sync with the market. And I've decided that I'm going to wait for the 4-hour close, right? Which is 2 hours and 40 minutes, right? Just wait. And then what you need to do in this scenario is you need to feel the difference between the feelings, right? So I began with having a feeling of stress and anxiety, and I'm now having a feeling of just happiness and calm and just completely balanced and in sync with the market. And that is needed for you to enter that flow state of mind, or that trading in the zone, right? That flow state of mind. You need to have that balance. You need to be able to identify which emotions are causing problems in your tradings, right? So I'm very proud about that. I'm very happy and proud about the fact that I've learned to master. I can't say master because that's not even close to mastering it. But I'm at least I've done a great job on managing my emotions through meditation and mindfulness, and trying to connect with my own emotions. You will find that it's so extremely hard, right? Most of you, like, it's very hard. There should be like a 1 hour episode or 1 hour live stream of talking about this. I'm not going to go into the details, but most of us, chances are quite high that as children, a lot of us have gone through some type of like emotional neglect or stuff like that, and that has an effect on how we deal with emotions as adults, and how we connect with our emotions as adults, and how we interpreted our emotions as adults. In other professions, it's not maybe very important, but in trading, it's everything, right? So the way you learn to identify and manage and take care of your emotional and physical, psychological well-being is going to be a key aspect in your trading success, right? So like, learn how to identify your emotions and learn how to really embrace your emotions, because your emotions, a lot of people say you should not be trading based on your emotions, but your emotional state of mind is your best indicator of your trading performance, right? So remember that if you feel stressed, if you feel anxiety, if you feel a FOMO, do not trade, right? GBP CAD, not entering this one. CAD CHF, on the other hand, this is something I will enter because this fits my system perfectly and it just makes sense on every possible way. US 100, this is actually something I'm very interested in entering, and I will wait for the 1 hour close on this one, right? So I will wait for the 1 hour close on US 100 before I enter. It will close in 34 minutes. EuroCAD, not sure about that one, but I now have at least CAD CHF at US 100 as possible trades. I'm good, man. I'm great, Mr. Brown Bug. I'm actually just about to leave you guys and end the live stream. If you like these types of live streams, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want more stuff like this one, follow me on Twitter for more content like this one. And like I said, if you are interested in that new private mentoring experience, and if you are super serious about trading, send me a DM and we can talk to see if you would fit that program. All right, guys, take care and see you all in the next live stream, hopefully sometime this week. All right, take care.